Okay. Hello, everyone. We are here. This is Catherine. Catherine and I are here to do a story of hope, which, all these stories are so beautiful and really do inspire hope. And I love Catherine's story. The things that stick out to me, and we'll get into it, is how she really advocated for herself and pushed, and I think didn't take no for an answer, which is, I preach that. So I want you to share what feels good to you to share with the audience, because I know that at some point, I believe the stories of hope helped you back in the day, didn't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
they did.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I saw them in the Facebook group or if I saw them on Instagram or where I saw them, but I just remember watching some of them and, picking up on pieces that, other women had that I was going through. And I was like, oh, well, let me look into that, because that might be something of, why I'm having issues.
Yeah.
But
so start from the beginning. So you were having troubles conceiving, right? And then wound up getting to
so my husband had a vasectomy.
Oh, that's right. He had a vasectomy.
And so we knew we were going to have, somebody was going to have some sort of procedure somewhere. So we initially checked out, to have it reversed. The doctor said it's just no. So we went the route of IVF, and of course we went in, and I was 30 at the time. We went in, they said everything looks great, you'll have no problem having babies, you'll be pregnant in no time. So we went through, we ended up getting like 23 eggs, ended up with 3 embryos. And then we did a transfer and it failed. Yes. And it was like a grade 4 AA or AB or something like that. And so they were like, I have no idea what's going on. Let's do a hysteroscopy, because you probably have polyps. So they went in there, no polyps. So I said, okay, what's the problem? They're like, I don't know, just let's try again. So tried again, another failure. Still didn't have a reason. I ended up asking about endometriosis, PCOS, natural killer cells, which the doctor was like, no.
And how'd you learn about that stuff? Like, how'd you get?
So I have, I always thought I had endometriosis, because my cramps used to make me throw up. So I always thought it was something that I had. And then I just started, because I have hypothyroidism, I just started researching like hypothyroidism, infertility, and it just takes you down a rabbit hole of all these things. So I'm like, well, y'all don't know what's wrong with me. I'm going to try and figure it out, since you're not trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I ended up thinking, well, I have hypo, which means my antibodies, attack my thyroid. Maybe I have another.
So you had Hashis too, right? You had hypo and Hashis.
They did not. I had never been diagnosed with it.
Right.
I pushed my endocrinologist to test me for it, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you do have this." And I'm like, "Thanks for checking that out for me." So we tested that.
You pushed so hard, though. You've got a lot of information.
Yeah. So we tested that, and then I ended up somehow, again, I don't know how I came across any of this information, just reading, but about an ERA, which it tests whether or not you're in your receptive period, which they didn't want to do, but I pushed. They're like, well, we can do it. And I'm like, just do it. So they did it, and turns out they were transferring the embryo at the wrong time. So
because you were pre-receptive, right? They were transferring it late. Yeah.
So I needed one more day of progesterone. Yeah. So we did that. We transferred the last embryo, and it failed. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I asked them, okay, well, what are we going to do? And they're like, we'll just do the same thing over again. I'm like, okay, no, because that did not work. And there was a lot of other things that went on with the clinic, with like wrong medications and things like that. Yeah. So I was like, okay, we need to go somewhere else, find somewhere else to go. So we found another clinic. They were also like, oh yeah, you'll have no problem having kids. Everything looks great. Your lining is perfect, yada, yada, yada. So we were super excited. they did one extra test to make sure my fallopian tubes were open,
Right. And you
and
didn't have like a sepsis, right? Yeah, it wasn't
and to make sure like,
hydrosalpinx. Yeah.
the fluid wasn't leaking into my uterus, which everything was fine. So we went through, got another like 23, 22 eggs.
Is the HSG painful for you?
Yes.
Because that's another sign, like just for all you guys out there, like vomiting and or diarrhea with a period is usually a sign to me of endometriosis. And the painful, like very painful HSG is another sign where it's like there's endo growths like cobwebs, and it kind of like holds on to things, and the tubes are really tiny and small. And so when pressure is applied and the HSG forces the fluid through the tubes, it can be really painful for endometriosis girls.
I remember one side was fine, and then the other side, it was like it took forever because they're like, well, we're not really seeing the dye come out, and they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm like, I'm about to fall off this table.
Yeah.
So, but that ended up fine.
Yeah.
So we did everything. We got like 23 eggs, 22 eggs, somewhere around there. And then none of the embryos made it.
Right.
Which I was shocked, because more fertilized at that cycle than the other one. And so we went in for like our meeting with the doctor after the failure, and they basically told us that my eggs were crap. I needed donor eggs, that they could try another cycle. And they were pushing us to do half my eggs, half donor eggs, and then half my husband's sperm, half donor sperm, which my husband was not about any of the donor.
All coming back to me, by the way. Like now I'm actually seeing our call. Like I'm actually seeing where you were sitting. Like you were at like a table, maybe in like a kitchen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like all coming back to me as you're telling the story. Like now and it's so funny. Like I'm like that, where like, of course I remember you and your case, but now I'm like really remembering our conversation. Anyway.
So after that, I was just like, I think this is bullshit. And
you were done.
I'm 30. I was like 32.
You were a baby. Yeah.
And I was like, this is crap. Like I don't believe this.
Yeah.
So I took some time to research, try and just see what information was out there, because one, they kept telling me that endometriosis doesn't affect IVF. However, they wanted to put me on Lupron. So it either doesn't affect it or I don't need the drug. Like, why would you put me on something if it doesn't affect it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did like not an interview, but I went to another clinic just to see what they had to say. And again, they were saying all the same stuff. They didn't want to do the endometriosis surgery. So now this is 3 clinics that have not wanted to do the endometriosis surgery. I went to my OB and they didn't want to do the endometriosis surgery. So like, this is garbage. So I don't know what to do. So
you were at such a loss.
So I was doing that. And then I was researching a bunch of things about inflammation, because if you have endometriosis, you have inflammation. And I don't know where down my rabbit hole I came across you, but I came across you. And so I started like reading all the free stuff, like anything that you would send for free. I was reading and like telling my husband about, until finally I was like, I said, I'm really like, we're wasting all this money with IVF. Like, I really want to do this coaching to see, like I said, because she'll listen to your case and tell you what specifically for you. It's not like I'm just reading like a generalized suggestion.
Right. And that's the problem with, like, as I would call it, Dr. Google, right? It's like you're kind of shooting in the dark a bunch, but you know, you did obviously learn a ton, and you were on your path to, you know, doing all the things right for you.
I think one of the things you had said, and I want to say it was like a hot seat on Instagram, and you had said something about like, I did the work for you. Like, I did this. I've already, and so I was like, okay, good. Cause I'm done. I'm tired of doing the work. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. So, I had my husband watch a couple things, and he was like, if you feel like this is going to help you, then do it. And I was like, yeah. And then I remember getting Body Belief and reading through that. And I cannot remember who it was with, but I did some coaching with one of your partners.
probably Michelle in
Yes, it was Michelle.
2021. It was Michelle.
It
Yeah.
was Michelle. So
Yeah.
I did some of that with her. And I remember I'm such a picky eater, so it was like hard for me at first. And I'm also like heavy on the carbs. So I just was like, oh, I'm never gonna be able to do this. But like once I did it, it was not that hard. And I noticed like so many,
Yeah. So
like
many things changed for you. Yeah.
so many different things, just random things that I didn't even know were inflammation, like ringing in your ears. I didn't even know that
Yes.
had anything to do with inflammation. So I thought that was crazy.
And then, yeah, because you came before I had written the egg quality diet, which is largely based off of
Yeah.
the approach in body belief,
Mhm.
and obviously all about reducing inflammation. And I was just seeing if I could pull up your red flag symptom list.
Yeah.
My thing is being funky, so I won't do it. And so you joined the Yes You Can Get Pregnant e-course. That was in like
Mhm.
September, and you got one coaching session, I think,
Mhm.
with Michelle. And then so that's September of 21. And at that point, you'd been, like you said, 3 different clinics. No one's listening to you. No one wants to give you endo surgery.
Right.
And were you making changes though already, like doing certain
So
supplements
I
and things like
had
that?
CoQ10 was something I had done.
Right.
I had also like clean beauty products, like changed my deodorants, body washes. I didn't really wear perfumes, nail polish, just
Right.
like whatever I came across and I thought could help, I did. And then coffee was like, tried to tone down the coffee. That was like a big battle between my husband, was like, you drink
Right.
5 to 6 cups of coffee a day. Like we need to, like, can we do 2? Can we do a decaf? Can we
Right.
do,
Right.
that was like a big thing for him. But then, you gave us like the E3 was something that he was
Yeah.
on.
I
The
have your
fish,
notes here too.
yeah, the
If
fish oil was something that he was on.
your big red flags, just so everybody knows: cold hands and feet, fatigue, overweight, stomach ache, bloating, belching, constipation, depression, insomnia, restlessness, low libido, irritability. Those were what you were complaining of
Mhm.
at the time. And it was actually, yeah, October 2000. I have 2020. Does that sound right?
I don't know, maybe. I took a break. I don't know how long
Yeah.
that break
Yeah,
was, but I took
exactly.
a break.
And then with your period too, your stomach was a mess. Cramping, like all these things too. It was like, yeah, anyway, just sharing all that. So then you did
Oh,
like,
no,
you dove.
2020 is right.
Yeah, we called it back then, it was before the egg quality diet, but we had a PDF that we were giving everybody called the Fertility Purify Eating Plan. And that's what we dove into. And so I'm like looking at the follow-up email, and it was like, we put you on liver pills, or you were already on them. Continue. We put you on a prenatal with methylfolate, not folic acid. And we said the prenatal you had soy in it, so please switch that out. You were doing cod liver oil already, collagen peptides, D3. And then yeah, you were in the e-course, and then I think you were already on CoQ10, right? And you switched over your bath and beauty products, like you said. And then we were working through a lot of some of what the homework was for you, of like unpack some of those beliefs, begin healing from the trauma of this process, dig into the e-course, especially as modules 1 and module 5 for the emotional support. And then you were fairly active in the e-course too, as far as in the Q&A, and we called it office hours back then, but now we call it Q&A, just kind of less confusion. And then so then fast forward, so you do the coaching, you're changing the diet, but then you hear me talk about Dr. Vidali, right?
Yeah. So you had talked about it, and a couple of the other girls in the group had talked about having surgery with him. And I'm in Virginia and he's in New Jersey or New York. So I was like, I don't know. Well, I'll just see. So we went and we had a consult with him. And it was funny to me. He just did one look, like we just examined and was like, oh yeah, you have PCOS for sure. And I'm like, how do you see that? And I've been to like 3 other, first of all,
IVF
I've been to
clinics.
the
Yeah.
OB every year and
Yeah.
nobody's seen that. I've been to 3 other clinics and they didn't, like, you're counting follicles as you're doing IVF.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
follicle count is how you know you have PCOS. So how did you guys not know that?
Yeah.
How did that not come up? That's what I think is crazy.
Yeah.
So
and that no one addressed it, because that's why you were getting so many eggs.
yeah.
The quality was crappy. And it's like, it's really about regulating hormones and blood sugar for PCOS. And then all those eggs, you know, you can improve the quality of those eggs, basically.
Yeah.
And now we know that we have proof of that for you.
So we went there and I decided I just wanted to go through with the surgery. So in April of 21, I had the surgery. And shortly after, he had told me to get on metformin. So, and he said, you know, a couple months on that, you know, it should be good. So I waited until August, to do my next egg retrieval. So was that,
you were doing all the supplements, were you still pretty much on the diet?
kind of, I mean, with the metformin, it jacks your stomach up. So I was kind of sort of eating whatever I could keep, but try, like, half and half, I would say. Like, I lived off sweet potatoes, I think.
The protein, you were still conscious of the protein and the veg, like in that way. I think the macros were probably still there, but maybe some more carbs.
Yeah. So I did that, and then I also found a doctor who believed in reproductive immunology.
And who was that? Because you're in PA. Was it mainline or no?
No, we did it in Virginia.
Oh, in Virginia, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So she ended up testing me for natural killer cells, which I ended up having a higher level of. I mean, everybody has them, but some people just have more. So we included that in the transfer protocol or afterwards. But I went in.
Was it IVIG or was it
intralipids? Yeah. I looked at both of them because Dr. Vidali was like, well, you can do IVIG. But it was just a lot because
it's very expensive.
And I was like, we'll just see, you know. So we did the last retrieval and I got 42 eggs. Yeah. And I was like, holy moly. And then 2 made it to embryos.
And so that's just day 5. You didn't test. They weren't.
They didn't test. They were like, well, you know, from what, you know, they say it's just a beauty contest when they grade them. So mine were like a 2B minus or something like that. And they're like, we don't want to, they're a little fragile. We don't want to just play around with them. And, you know,
so they were like, day 3s or day 5s? They were day 5s.
Day 5s.
Yeah.
So then after my retrieval, I went on Lupron because we knew I had the endo. Because when we did the surgery, he was like, I wasn't positive we should have done the surgery, but I'm glad we did because it was everywhere. Like, they had to
stage 4, wasn't it? You were like,
he had to call in a general surgeon to get it out of other places. Like, I apparently had it in my bowels and my stomach, like it was everywhere.
Did you feel, and like even still, I mean, I know I'm jumping around, but like, you feel a big difference from the surgery?
My periods are so much better.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I was a little nervous because with like the suppression with Lupron and then being pregnant, I didn't have a period for so long. But when it came back, I was like, oh, this isn't bad. I can live with this, you know. So much better.
That's amazing. And a lot of your like red flag symptoms too. At bay, or at least now you know how to manage them too better, right?
Yeah. So, but I was glad I pushed to do that. I was like, just anything that could be an issue, let's just like
solve for it. Yeah. Or
so
investigate. So okay, so I keep cutting you off. So we get to embryos. Then we do
Mhm.
Lupron for what, 2 months?
We
3
did
months?
Lupron for so we did it September, October, November, and then I just wanted to wait a little bit more. So we did it, and then I had my transfer on December 20th
And you
of
put
21. And we put 2 in because she was like, the quality, and we'll just see, like, one will, if one probably won't take, so let's just put them, but you have to be okay with having 2. And I was like, just put them both in, like, God
you're
will
like,
give
I've been at
me,
this for 4 years, so
yeah,
I'll
it's
take
like
it.
God will give me what I'm supposed to have,
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
And so we put them in, and we did like the mindset piece with
Yes.
and so I had made peace with, like, okay, my body is doing what it can do. If this is something that it can't do, it can't do it. Like, I've done everything that I
Yeah,
can
you showed
do.
up. Yeah, exactly.
I have, researched, I have put my body through everything. Like, if it just can't do it, it just can't do it, whatever. So, like, I had made peace, I was feeling good going into it, and I'm like, okay. So, we had a transfer, and then Christmas morning, I don't know why, but I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I woke up Christmas morning and I was pregnant? And so I was like, my husband's like, are you going to test? And I was like, I don't know. And so for some reason, I woke up at 3:30 in the morning and I could not go back to sleep. So I was like, why not? So I
Yeah.
took a test, and I remember sitting there and I was like, and I just remember, like, oh my, like,
Yeah.
okay,
Wow.
is that a line? I don't know. Am I trying to see something that's
Yeah.
not there? Because I don't know. So I took another one, and I think I took a first response. And at the time, they had like an app. You could take a
Oh, yeah.
picture of it, and it would
Yeah.
tell you pregnant, not pregnant.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
let me just see. I need somebody else to look at this. It's like 4 in the morning. I don't know what I'm seeing. Okay. So, and it kept saying pregnant. It was like pregnant, pregnant, pregnant. I was like, oh, okay. Ooh.
Oh
So
my
I remember
God.
going upstairs, and I was like shaking, and I woke up my husband. I handed him a cup of coffee, and I'm like, I need you to, like, have a couple sips of this, like, put your glasses on. I need you to look at something. And he was like, what? So I turned on the lamp, and I was like, what is that?
Oh
And
my
he,
God.
like, looked at it, and then he
Oh.
looked at me, and I was like, I took 2, and it said there were 2 lines. He was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. So, like, Christmas morning, we were dying because, we meet family all,
Oh,
because we
yeah.
didn't even tell them that we did a
Yeah.
transfer, because we didn't want it
Wow.
to be like
The pressure.
everybody,
Yeah.
you know. So I was like, ugh, let's just, and he's like, take one. So every day he was making me take one. And I was like, you're gonna, like, stress me out. Can we not do this? But no. And so then we started getting a dye stealer. So where the test line was darker than the control line.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he's like, is that good? And I was like, I don't know. I think so. And then I remember we went to the clinic, we did our baseline or whatever. And that whole day I was telling him, I was like, you have to answer the phone, because I can't take another call where they're like, sorry,
Yeah.
whatever. And so I was sitting at my computer, and I got an email from LabCorp, and I was like, why is I hadn't had labs done. And I was like, oh shit. Oh, it is,
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
oh my God. I was like, should we open it? Should we wait? What should we do? Should you open it? Like, I don't know. So we went through, and I remember I had him do it, because I was like, I'm too nervous to look at it. So he's like looking at it, and he's staring at the computer, and I said, do you even know what you're looking at? Like, just give
No
me,
idea.
like, what is the number? Because I was thinking, I would be pregnant, but it might be a low number. And
Yeah.
he was like, I think so. And I was like, give that to me. So I looked at it, and it was like 1564. And I was
Yeah.
like,
That's very pregnant. That's twins. Yeah.
I said, he's like, is that good? I said, yeah, it's, there are probably 2 of them in there.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
we went to our next baseline, and again, it doubled. And so they had called me after that one. They're like, I think you want to come in, and let's do an ultrasound, because I think you might have twins. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. So we went in there, and I remember it wasn't even doing the ultrasound yet. She kind of just, put the wand in there, and it flashed across the screen. And my husband looked at me, and he said, did you see that? And I said, Mhm.
Oh,
And it was like, we have to beat, and
oh,
just cried.
yeah.
So I,
And they both came home.
and they both are home.
And they're both keeping you from sleeping. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
We just got a sleep consultant, so that is like
But,
the
yeah.
best thing I have done, and they're sleeping through the night now, thank God. But yeah,
How was
but
the
they,
pregnancy? I mean, obviously, I know. Yeah, you went on bed rest, or you were
yeah.
for 28
So
weeks.
my pregnancy was fine. Like I had no issues. They were growing great. Um, Everything checked out good. The only bad thing was I was so sick my entire pregnancy. Like I literally could just eat. I remember crying while eating mashed potatoes because I was so nauseous. That was like the only bad thing. And then I did get some sciatica, but that was it. And then um at 27 weeks, I had to go back in for, because they say IVF babies supposedly have a higher risk for heart issues. So I had to go back in for a ultrasound of their heart, and we noticed one of my boys, his amniotic fluid was low. So then I got switched over to the high risk doctor, and then a week later, his water broke. So I was admitted at 28 weeks and lived in the hospital until 31 when I delivered them. But
Wow.
I remember the neonatologist telling me, they look great. You did a great job, mom. They're nice and big, and
Oh,
whatever. So okay. Because that was like my worst fear. Like God finally gave me these babies, and then like something,
gonna happen now. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
But I
But
mean, I kept them in a couple weeks. So
there you go. Well, that's it. I mean, that's probably all they needed too. I mean, especially I think twins tend to come out smaller than,
mhm.
singles anyway. But they're great and healthy now, right? 8
They're
months old.
fine now.
Yeah.
One of them, I'll never forget the lady, and one of the nurses, when he would cry, she was like, oh, I kept thinking he was one of my, full term babies because his lungs are so
Wow.
good. But
Oh,
they just had doctor's appointments. Everything looks great. On some things, they're right in line with term babies as far as
yeah.
growth,
That's
and
great. Okay, cool.
their milestones are right on where they need to be.
Right.
So
All right. And that's
great.
them behind you, right? Over your shoulder. I
Yeah,
see.
so this was one of my favorite pictures. One of the where I could hold both of them in the
Oh,
hospital.
God. So sweet. Oh,
So it was a big moment because Lachlan, one of my boys, we weren't able to hold him for a couple days because
it's so hard.
they just said he was fragile. But what ended up happening is they put me on magnesium so many times that it affected his GI tract, and so he just couldn't go to the bathroom. So that's
Poor
why he was, yeah,
baby.
I know. So once he
Oh,
finally went to the bathroom, they're like, oh, that's
that's
what
what it
his
was.
problem was. Like, okay, I'm glad it was something easy as pooping and not
Yeah.
anything, you know, crazy.
Major. Wow. And so life on the other side of 4 years of trying, how's that feel?
Uh, I'm just thankful, like it worked. I'm proud of myself for
Yeah.
just having to be my own doctor and,
Yeah.
making people test for things. I mean,
Yeah.
it sucked. It was hard.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, if I didn't do it, nobody else is gonna do it.
Well,
So
that's it. I mean, yeah, you spoke up for yourself and you pushed and you got what you needed.
yeah.
And I think too, I don't know why I'm so emotional, but it's just a great story. But um, really, I mean, endometriosis left untreated and even polycystic left untreated, they can turn into some significant things down the road, and you
Yeah.
were suffering every month. Like even that alone, um, in Hashimoto's. I mean, like all the things, like you literally were your own doctor, and these are significant inflammatory and autoimmune conditions that will affect your health long term. And so, um, babies aside, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
negligence on the doctor's part, and it's shameful. It's terrible,
And
actually.
I'll say the crazy thing is while I was in the hospital with them, my body kept trying to go into labor and I didn't feel it. Like it just felt like normal, like, oh, because I'm so used
It's
to,
just such intense cramps.
I didn't feel it. The only time I felt it was birth horror story. I went into back labor at like 10
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning and didn't know. I just thought my back hurt. And I just kept telling them, oh, my back hurts, my back hurts.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they were like, oh, we'll give you some muscle relaxers. And they were giving me all this stuff until finally I was like, I can't take it anymore. Like, somebody needs to help. Like, it's 11 o'clock at night. I'm dying. And finally because the doctor had told me like pain isn't a reason to deliver, because they were trying to keep the babies in, but I was like,
Right,
you
yeah.
need to help me. And so finally they checked me, and I guess I'd been sitting at 5 centimeters for a
Wow.
week maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I guess I finally had progressed. I guess once you get to 6, they're just like, well,
They're
there's
coming
no
out.
stopping it now.
Yeah.
So I guess I
Yeah.
had progressed. But yeah, I handled back labor like
You
a champ.
vaginally delivered. Did you
Apparently.
vaginally deliver both of them?
No,
No.
one of
Okay.
them was breech. And so I
Yeah.
had already told them I would have preferred to do it that way, but I was like,
Yeah.
whatever the easiest way to get them out is what I want you to do. Like, whatever's less stress on them,
Yeah.
do it that way. Cut me open if you need to. I don't
Yeah.
care. Just
Yeah.
whatever
Exactly.
is best for them.
Yeah.
And so they were like, okay, we'll just do a C-section. So,
Yeah. Love it.
but
Love it. Wow. Thank you so much for coming. And I mean, so you emailed, it was in January, and
mhm.
just such a nice email about, just wanted to say how you helped me. And I was like, oh, you want to come and do a story of hope? So thank you so much for sharing that. And do you have any, I don't know, any words of wisdom or anything for all the other
I
ladies
guess
out there?
I would say just trust your gut. If you feel
Yeah.
like if something's off, or, doctors know a lot, but they don't know it all.
Yeah.
So, if you feel like something's off, or you feel like you might have this issue, or there's something going on, like, don't be afraid to push or find somebody who will help you. Like I said, I went to like 4 different fertility clinics, and, finally found somebody who believed in, what I had going on.
Mhm.
And just advocate for yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Say, I mean, it's hard, but it's worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah. You'll never look back and regret.
No, I would have regretted it had I just taken their
Advice. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it didn't. I think that's it too. There's nothing wrong with going the donor route, and a lot of women do it,
No.
or for sperm or for eggs. But like I always say, it needs to feel like like a hell yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
on board with it, and you had no, that doesn't feel right. And you knew that something was missing, and like you said, you trusted your gut and you kept pushing,
Mhm.
and here you are.
Yeah.
You did it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. We'll let you
Thank
go
you.
and get back to those nuggets.
I'm
Um,
down there with
but
Daddy.
yeah, good. I'm sure he's doing great. But yeah, I mean, keep us posted on them and on you. And yeah, maybe we'll see you back in the group if you decide to, go another.
Yeah, everybody's like, are you gonna try for a girl? You have 2 boys. And I'm like,
I'm good. Yeah.
I think 4 years is long enough to get those 2. So
Yeah. I mean, and that's it. But
you never know.
you never know, and you can change your mind at any point. And that's the beauty of being in the e-course too, is I never kick you out. You can come back for number 2, number 3. So yeah, but it's I'm so grateful for you to come and share the story. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, of course. Gosh. All right, guys. Thank you. Oh, sorry, all right.